Hi, my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel. I know I said I wasn't gonna do videos like this because I don't keep up to date with new releases. I said I was just gonna do one video at the beginning of the year talking about some upcoming releases, and that was it. But I was going through my Goodreads the other day and I have a lot of upcoming books on my want to read shelf. So I thought it would be fun to just sit down and go through them with you guys, and maybe you guys can get as excited as I am because so many of these books, like, I am so highly anticipated and I need them immediately. So with that being said, grab a drink, let's relax together. I have some blueberry green tea this morning. Never tried it. I hope it's good. But it's still too hot to drink, so I'm just gonna put that on the side for now. But let's go ahead and get into it. I tried to order these by like publication date, but this one I'm going to start with is breaking that rule just a little bit because I think this is my most anticipated book for the second half of the year. It sounds so interesting. It has so many elements that I love in books. So that book is The Bog Wife by K. Chronister. It says, in this atmospheric Appalachian Gothic, the Hadley siblings of West Virginia must unearth long-buried secrets to carve out a future when the supernatural bargain entwining their fate with their ancestral land is suddenly ruptured. Appalachian, Gothic, supernatural bargain, and a bargain with the land? Okay. Since time immemorial, the Hadley family has tended the cranberry bog. In exchange, the bog sustains them. The staunch seasons of their lives are governed by a strict covenant that is renewed each generation with the ritual sacrifice of their patriarch, and in return, the bog produces a bog wife. Brought to life from vegetation, this woman is meant to carry on the family line. But when the bog fails or refuses to honor the bargain, the Hadleys, a group of discordant siblings still grieving the mother who mysteriously disappeared years earlier, face an unknown future. Middle child Wenna, summoned back to the dilapidated family manor just as her marriage is collapsing, believes the Hadleys must abandon their patrimony. Her siblings are not so easily persuaded. Eldest daughter Ada, de facto head of the household, seeks to salvage the compact by desecrating it. Younger son Percy retreats into the wilderness in a dangerous bid to summon his own bog wife. And as youngest daughter Nora takes desperate measures to keep her warring siblings together, fledgling patriarch Charlie uncovers a disturbing secret that casts doubt over everything the family has ever believed about itself. Brimming with aching loss and the universal struggle between honoring family commitments and the drive to strike out on one's own, The Bog Wife is a haunting invocation of the arcane power of the habits and habitats that bound us. It sounds so good. We have this dysfunctional family. We have this bog wife that is brought to life from vegetation and is brought to life through a ritual sacrifice. It just sounds so good and so weird, and I'm so ready for it. This book is set to come out October 1st. Okay, moving on now. This one is coming out pretty soon. It's set to come out July 16th. This is Smother Moss by Alyssa Alluring. A haunting, imaginative, and twisting tale of two sisters and the menacing, unexplained forces that threaten them and their rural mountain community. So this is, I think, another Appalachian Gothic, just like The Bog Wife. It says, in 1980s Appalachia, life isn't easy for Sheila. She endures relentless taunting and bullying at the hands of her classmates. She takes care of her great aunt, the garden and home, and the rabbits, and forages for mushrooms in the forest, all while her mother works long, back-breaking shifts at the nearby state asylum. But it's her peculiar little sister Angie who worries her the most. Angie is obsessed with nuclear war, Rambo, zombies, a Russian invasion of their country, and the ominous tarot-like cards that she creates that somehow speak to her. As if all that weren't enough, Sheila feels an unexplainable weight around her neck. Is it the ancient and strange mountain that they live on that casts its shadow on her, or something or someone else unknown, unseen? When a pair of female hikers are brutally murdered on the nearby Appalachian Trail, Sheila and Angie find themselves inexplorably drawn into the hunt for the killer. As the ever-present threat of violence looms larger, the mountain might be the only thing that can save them from the darkness consuming their home and their community. It says it is unsettling, propulsive, and chillingly atmospheric. Smother Moss opens a hidden door into a world caught between rural Gothic and fairy tale, inviting the reader to renegotiate what is seen and unseen, what is real and what is haunted. It sounds really, really good. I really, really like this cover. You guys let me know which covers are your favorite from this video. I kind of want to do like a tier ranking, like new release covers. Maybe I'll do that after this. But it sounds really, really interesting. I really like Appalachian settings for horror just because like I feel like there are so many unknown things in that area of the world and it's really spooky. So I'll definitely be picking this one up. The next one, it comes out August 6th, and this is The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. It says, in this emotionally raw and propulsive folk horror mystery, a journalist goes to a small town and unravels a dark secret that the women have been keeping for generations. I'm already hooked. Marshall is still trying to put the pieces together after the death of her husband. After she is involved in a terrible accident, her editor sends her to the small, backwoods town of Rayford to investigate a clearly ridiculous rumor that a horse has given birth to a healthy human baby boy. When Marshall arrives in Rayford, she finds an insular town that is kinder to the horses they are famous for breeding than to their own people. But when two horribly mangled bodies are discovered in a field, one a horse, one a human, she realizes that there might be a real story here. As she's pulled deeper into the town and its guarded people, her sense of reality is tipped on its head. Is she losing her grip? Or is this impossible story the key to a dark secret that has haunted the women of Rayford for generations? Unbearably tensed and utterly gripping, this atmospheric tale of female rage, bodily autonomy, and generational trauma hails the arrival of a masterful storyteller. First of all, those are three key words for me. Female rage, bodily autonomy, and generational trauma. I'm in. It's really funny because I added so many of these books like a while ago that I don't remember like what they're actually about. So I feel like I'm discovering the plot of these books with you guys and I really like that. Moving on, this one is set to come out August 13th and it is Glass Houses by Madeline Ashby. It says it's for fans of Glass Onion and Black Mirror. I'm always looking for more Black Mirror adjacent books to read, so I really hope that this one actually delivers. A group of employees and their CEO, celebrating the sale of their remarkable emotion mapping AI algorithm, crash onto a not quite deserted tropical island. Luckily, those who have survived have found a beautiful, fully stocked private palace with all the latest technological updates, though one without connection to the outside world. The house, however, has more secrets than anyone might have guessed, and much darker reason for having been built and left behind. Kristen, the hyper-competent human emotional support technician, tries to keep her colleagues stable throughout this new challenge, but staying sane seems to be as much of a challenge as staying alive. Being a woman in technology has always meant having to be smarter than anyone expects, and Kristen's survival skills are more impressive than anyone knows. Very curious about the like remote deserted island setting. Also this like AI technology in the house sounds really, really interesting. Definitely looking forward to that one. Up next, this one comes out September 3rd, 2024, and that is Haunt Sweet Home by Sarah Pinsker. So I remember that this synopsis is kind of vague, but it has enough to get me interested. So the synopsis starts off with a quote. It says, "Don't talk today about what we do at night." When aimless 20-something Mara lands a job as the night shift production assistant on her cousin's ghost hunting / home makeover reality TV show, Haunt Sweet Home, she quickly determines her new role will require a healthy attitude toward duplicity. But as she hides fog machines in the woods and improvises scares to spook new homeowners, a series of unnerving incidents on set and a creepy new coworker force Mara to confront whether the person she's truly been deceiving and hiding from all along is herself. It says it's eerie and empathetic, multifaceted, supernatural exploration of finding your own way into adulthood and into yourself. So, I don't know, it sounds interesting. It sounds like they're kind of staging ghost things on this ghost show and maybe it's gonna backfire. There are some darker things at play here. It is 176 pages, so this is a shorter one, but I'm very curious and I can't wait to pick it up. Next up, we have some October releases. This first one is The Book of Witching by CJ Cook. Clem gets a call that is every mother's worst nightmare. Her 19-year-old daughter Erin is unconscious in the hospital after a hiking trip with her friends on the remote Orkney Islands that met a horrifying end, leaving her boyfriend dead and her best friend missing. When Erin wakes, she doesn't recognize her mother, and she doesn't answer to her name, but insists she is someone named Nyx. Clem travels the site of her daughter's accident, determined to find out what happened to her. The answer may lie in a dark secret in the history of the Orkneys, a woman wrongly accused of witchcraft and murder 4 centuries ago. Clem begins to wonder if Erin's strange behavior is a symptom of a broken mind or the effects of an ancient curse. Interesting. So I think there may be some kind of feminist undertones to this as we're talking about witchcraft and revenge. Sounds really, really interesting. Maybe we'll get to see some family trauma or familial bonds with a mother and a daughter, but I'm very, very curious about that one. The next one also comes out in October. This doesn't have a cover yet, at least that I know of. It is called Nether Station by Kevin J. Anderson. This is a sci-fi book. It says, "Space is vast, space is full of wonders, space is terrifying. In the darkest part of the solar system lies a wormhole, Nether. Astrophysicist Cami Skora has joined the first research team traveling to the Nether anomaly, eager to understand the mechanics of the wormhole and to explore its possibilities as a shortcut to Alpha Centauri. But another race of ancient beings has already been here, an impossibly long time ago, leaving remnants of their vast complexes and gigantic temples built for horrific beings beyond comprehension. What dangers did those elder races find in the hidden corners of space-time? What did they unleash, and what remains? Now Cami and the crew of Nether Station must find the answers before the darkest part of the cosmos swallows them up." So it kind of sounds like it might have a little bit of a Lovecraftian feel with these like ancient beings, gigantic temples and things that they've built in this Nether Station. Sounds fascinating. I can't wait to see what the cover is going to look like. I feel like it'll look really cool and spacey. Up next, another October release. This is Hiding Lies by Stephanie Rose. Lydia Walker is a forensic photographer trudging through life in the shadow of her traumatic past when she is assigned a case centered around the gruesome murder of a camping couple. Her personal life begins to improve after a chance encounter that makes her feel like she's finally connected with someone, a fellow tortured soul named Adam. As more victims are unearthed, she discovers she has a personal connection to the case. Her commitment to the case grows deeper, but her motives remain opaque to her colleagues. Will she sacrifice her reputation and her morality to explore her darker urges, or will she uphold the justice system that failed her and never held space for her? I'm not entirely sold just yet, but I'm intrigued enough to read it. This is set to come out October 29th, so could be a perfect Halloween read for you guys that are looking for something fun and spooky. Up next, we have We Are the Beast by Gigi Griffiths. This is a young adult novel, but it sounds really, really interesting. I'm kind of getting away from reading young adult, but this one, I love the cover. It sounds interesting, so I thought I would give it a try. This is set to come out December 10th. It says, when a series of brutal, mysterious deaths start plaguing the countryside and whispers of a beast in the mountains reach the quiet French hamlet of Mende, most people believe it's a curse, God's punishment for their sins. But to 16-year-old Josephine and her best friend Clara, the beast isn't a curse, it's an opportunity. For years, the girls of Mende have been living in a nightmare. Fathers who drink, brothers who punch, homes that feel like prisons, and this is a chance to get them out. Using the creature's attacks as cover, Josephine and Clara set out to fake their friend's death and hide them away until it's safe to run. But escape is harder than they thought. If they can't brave a harsh winter with little food, if the villagers discover what they're doing, if the beast finds them first, those fake deaths might just become real ones. So sounds really, really interesting. It's tagged as queer and LGBT, so I'm here for that. Love the idea of a beast in the mountains, and I also like the way that they're using it as an opportunity to escape the abuse that they've been faced at the hands of men. So I'm here for it. Can't wait for that one. Another December release. This is also tagged as LGBT. This is set to come out December 3rd. It is, I think, just a general fiction book. This is Sister Snake by Amanda Lee Coe. Sisterhood is difficult for Sue and Emerald. Sue leads a sheltered, moneyed life as the picture-perfect wife of a conservative politician in Singapore. Emerald is a nihilistic sugar baby in New York, living from whim to whim as she freely uses her beauty and charms to make ends meet. But they share a secret. Once they were snakes, basking under a full moon in Tang Dynasty, China. 1,000 years later, their mysterious history is the only thing still binding them together. When Emerald experiences a violent encounter in Central Park and Sue boards the next flight to New York, the two reach a tenuous reconciliation for the first time in decades. Sue convinces Emerald to move to Singapore so she can keep an eye on her, but she soon begins to worry that Emerald's impressible behavior will out them both. In a sparkling, affluent city where everything runs like clockwork and any deviation from the norm is automatically suspect. It says this is a reimagining of the Chinese folktale The Legend of the White Snake, which I've never heard of, but maybe I should look into that before I read this. But it sounds really, really interesting. Like, they used to be snakes in China, and now 1,000 years later, they are just women living their lives. So I'm very, very curious about that one. Moving on now, I do have a few books that are set to release next year that I want to talk about. The first one, of course, you guys know one of my favorite authors, Eric LaRocca. He has a new one coming out. It is called At Dark, I Become Loathsome. This synopsis starts off with a quote. It says, "If you're reading this, you've likely thought that the world would be a better place without you." A single line of text glowing in the darkness of the internet. Written by Ashley Luton, who has often thought the same and worse in the years since his wife died and his young son disappeared. But the peace of the grave is not for him, it's for those he can help. Ashley has constructed a peculiar ritual for those whose desire to die is at war with their yearning to live a better life. Struggling to overcome his own endless grief, one night Ashley finds connection with Jinx, a potential candidate for Ashley's next ritual, who spins a tale both revolting and fascinating. Thus begins a relationship that traps the two men in an ever-tightening spiral of painful revelations, where long-hidden secrets are dragged, kicking and screaming, into the light. Only through pain can we find healing. Only through death can we find new life. Sounds very, very interesting. Eric LaRocca is an author that I have loved pretty much everything that they've put out, and I like to just kind of go in blind now because I know no matter how much of a synopsis you read, like, you can never, I feel like, fully prepare for what's going to happen in an Eric LaRocca book. He always goes a lot deeper and darker than you're expecting. This is 350 pages as well, which is another full-length novel. I think this would be Eric LaRocca's second full-length novel, and this is set to come out January 28th, 2025. Another new release by an author that I love. I actually haven't read the synopsis, but I believe this is a possession horror, which I'm so freaking excited for because, like I said, I love this author and I love possession horror. This book is Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. This is set to come out January 7th, and let's read the synopsis together because I have not yet read it. It says, "The Americans meets The Exorcist as a suburban family are radicalized by a demonic force seeping through social media and 24-hour news cycles. Noah Fairchild has been losing his formerly polite Southern parents to far-right cable news for years. So when his mother leaves him a voicemail warning him that the Great Reckoning is here, he assumes it's related to one of the many conspiracy theories she believes in. But when his own phone calls go unanswered, Noah makes a long drive from Brooklyn to Richmond, Virginia. There he discovers his childhood home in shambles, a fridge full of spoiled food, and his parents locked in a terrifying trance-like state in front of the TV. Panicked, Noah attempts to snap them out of it and get medical help. Then Noah's mother brutally attacks him. But Noah isn't the only person to be attacked by a loved one. Families across the country are tearing each other apart, literally, as people succumb to a form of possession that gets worse the more time they spend watching particular channels, using certain apps, or visiting certain websites. In Noah's Richmond-based family, only he and his young nephew Marcus are unaffected. Together, they must race back to safe haven of Brooklyn, but can they make it before they fall prey to the violent hordes? So it is a possession horror, but it has to do with social media and like maybe some political things in there. I'm very, very curious. I also just realized that it has 2 different publication dates. So one says January and the other says July. So I'm not sure exactly when this book will be coming out, but sometime next year, and I'm very excited for it. We'll definitely pick that up as soon as it comes out. This next one, I haven't seen the cover yet. This is my first time seeing the cover. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I've had on my to be read shelf, but like I said, I just didn't see the cover until now. This is Grady Hendrix. It is set to come out January 14th, 2025. There is not really a big description, but it says, set in Florida in 1970, Grady Hendrix's newest novel follows a group of young women in a home for unwed mothers who find a guide to witchcraft. Sounds perfect, and I'm so ready. This next one is another very, very highly anticipated one for me. I don't know why, it just sounds so fascinating. It has so many elements that I really, really love when it comes to horror. This book is Our Winter Monster by Dennis A. Mahoney. It says it's a chilling holiday horror about an unhappy couple running from their problems and straight into the maw of a terrifying beast. Perfect for fans of Paul Tremblay and Sarah Gran, which I am a fan of both of those. So I really hope that's true. 'Cause sometimes books will do that. They'll say, oh, read it if you like this, and then it has absolutely no similarities at all. Anyways, it sounds really, really good. For the last year, Holly and Brian have been out of sync. Neither can forget what happened that one winter evening. Neither can forgive what's happened since. Tonight, Holly and Brian race toward Pine Buck, New York, trying to outrun a blizzard on their way to the ski village getaway they hope will save their relationship. But soon they lose control of the car and then of themselves. Now, Sheriff Kendra Book is getting calls about a couple in trouble, along with reports of a brutal and mysterious creature rampaging through town, leaving a trail of crushed cars, wrecked buildings, and mangled bodies in the snow. To Kendra, who lost another couple to the snow just 7 weeks ago, the danger feels personal. But not as personal as it feels to Holly and Brian, who are starting to see the past, the present, and themselves in a monstrous new light. So we have that winter setting. It comes out in January, so that's like absolutely perfect if you live somewhere where it snows, which I do not anymore, but that's okay. We have a mysterious creature rampaging through town. Okay, and we have a couple that's got, I feel like, some interesting dynamics because things are not totally right in their relationship. They have some event that happened between them that they can't really get over, and I'm very, very curious for this one, and I'm really excited. Next, we have a February release. This is set to come out February 18th, 2025. I really, really love the cover for this one. It is Girl in the Creek by Wendy Wagner. Says it is a perfect read for fans of T. Kingfisher and Jeff Vandermeer's cli-fi cosmic horror. The Clackamas National Forest has always been a sanctuary for evil, human, and alien. The shadows of looming trees and long-abandoned mines shelter poachers and serial killers alike. Then there's the ruined hotel on the outskirts of picturesque small town Faraday, Oregon, nestled in the foothills of Mount Hood. The one drowning in mushrooms and fungus not even local experts can identify. Not to mention the stacks of missing person cases. Freelance writer Erin Harper arrives in Faraday to find out what happened to her brother, whose disappearance in the forest has haunted her for years. But someone else has gone missing, and when Erin finds her in the creek, the girl vanishes again, this time from the morgue, and days later her fingerprints show up at a murder scene. Maybe it's a serial killer, or maybe it's the spores infecting the forest and those lost inside. Erin must find answers quickly before anybody else goes missing. Sounds really, really interesting. It sounds kind of like an eco-horror type of thing where we have like nature incorporated. Really, really curious about that one. Like I said, I do love the cover of it. Okay, Switching it up a little bit, we have a romance. Allie Hazelwood is coming out with a new romance next February. February 4th, it says, is the expected publication, and this is a sports romance. I'm not entirely sure about how I feel about sports romance. I think I've only read like one sports romance before, so I don't know, but I like Allie Hazelwood, so I'll be picking this one up. It says Scarlett Vandermeer is swimming upstream, a junior at Stanford and a student athlete who specializes in platform diving. Scarlett prefers to keep her head down, concentrating on getting into med school and on recovering from the injury that almost ended her career. She has no time for relationships, at least that's what she tells herself. Swim captain, world champion, all-around aquatics golden boy, Lucas, how do you say that name? Blomqvist? Whatever. We're not gonna try to pronounce that. Thrives on discipline. It's how he wins gold medals and breaks complete focus with every stroke. On the surface, Lucas and Scarlett have nothing in common until a well-guarded secret slips out and everything changes. So they start an arrangement, and as the pressure leading to the Olympics heats up, so does their relationship. It was supposed to be just a temporary, mutually satisfying fling, but when staying away from Lucas becomes impossible, Scarlett realizes that her heart might be treading into dangerous water. So it sounds like it could be maybe they were in like a friends with benefits type of situation, and now they're falling for each other. I don't know. Curious. I'm gonna rate it regardless. Next we have a literary fiction from an author that I really love, and I've been absolutely waiting for her to release another book, and she announced this one on Instagram a while ago. Now the cover's here. I haven't read the description yet, so we're gonna read it together. This is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. It is set to come out March 4th of 2025. It says, a family on a remote island, a mysterious woman washed ashore, a rising storm on the horizon. Dominic Salt and his 3 children are caretakers of Shearwater, a tiny island not far from Antarctica. Home to the world's largest seed bank, Shearwater was once full of researchers, but with sea levels rising, the Salts are now its final inhabitants, packing up the seeds before they are transported to safer ground. Despite the wild beauty of life here, isolation has taken its toll on the Salts. Raph, 18 and suffering his first heartbreak, can only find relief at his punching bag. Fen, 17, has started spending her nights on the beach among the seals. 9-year-old Orly, obsessed with botany, fears the loss of his beloved natural world, and Dominic can't stop turning back toward the past and the loss that drove the family to Shearwater in the first place. Then, during the worst storm the island has ever seen, a woman washes up on shore. As the Salts nurse the woman, Rowan, back to life, their suspicion gives way to affection, and they finally begin to feel like a family again. Rowan, long accustomed to protecting her heart, begins to fall for the Salts too, but Rowan isn't telling the whole truth about why she set out for Shearwater. And when she discovers the sabotaged radios and freshly dug grave, she realizes Dominic is keeping his own dark secrets. As the storms on Shearwater gather force, the characters must decide if they can trust each other enough to protect the precious seeds in their care before it's too late. And if they can finally put the tragedies of the past behind them to create something new together. So this is the same author of Migrations, which was a 5-star for me, as well as Once There Were Wolves, which I think I gave a 4.5 stars. I feel like she is such a fantastic author. Her writing is absolutely beautiful. The stories she tells are beautiful, and I feel like she gives so much depth to her characters and so much depth to the plot itself. So I'm really excited for this. I'm sure it's going to go way deeper and pull you in so much more than just a synopsis does. So I'm really excited. I really like this cover as well. You guys can let me know if you like this cover or not. Okay, we just have a few more left to go. This next one is Eat the Ones You Love by Sarah Maria Griffin. This is set to come out April 22nd of 2025. It says it's a twisted, tangled story about workplace love affairs and plants with a taste for human flesh. During a grocery run to her local shopping center, Shell Pine sees a help needed sign in a flower shop window. She's just left her fiance, lost her job, and moved home to her parents' house. She has to make a change and bring some good into her life, so she goes inside and takes a chance. Shell realizes right away the flowers are just the good thing she's been looking for, as is Neve, the beautiful florist who wrote the sign asking for help. The thing is, Neve needs help more than Shell could possibly imagine. An orchid growing out of sight in the heart of the mall is watching them closely. His name is Baby, and the beautiful florist belongs to him. He's young, he's hungry, and he'll do just about anything to make sure he can keep growing big and strong. Nothing he eats, nobody he eats, can satisfy him, except the thing he most desires, Neve. He adores her and wants to consume her and will stop at nothing to eat the one he loves. This is a story about possession and monstrosity, working retail. It is about hunger and desire and other terrible things that grow, and it sounds so freaking good. This, I think, is another most anticipated for me. I'm really sad that I have to wait all the way until April, but it sounds so good. Also, can we talk about Shell Pine? Like, what a name. Hi, I'm Shell Pine. Interesting. This next book also comes out on April 22nd, or is expected to come out on April 22nd. This is by Nat Cassidy. It's called When the Wolf Comes Home. Nat Cassidy is the author of Mary, which I think was just okay for me, and Nestlings, which I still have yet to read, but I do really, really want to read it. It says, one night, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying incidents of butchery follow them. At first, Jess thinks she understands what they're up against, but she's about to learn there's more to these surreal and grisly events than she could have ever imagined. It sounds interesting. I love the cover on this one. I really, really love the cover. I think that's got me more interested than the description itself, but I'm really, really excited to read it. Can't wait for that one. Moving on, Philip Fracassi, who is the author of Boys in the Valley. I think that's his most popular, but he's got so many other books as well. But Boys in the Valley was in my top 10 of last year, so I'm really, really excited. He's got 2 books coming out. One is coming out in March. It is called The Third Rule of Time Travel. So this is like a horror sci-fi, I believe. It says, scientist Beth Darlow has discovered the unimaginable. She's built a machine that allows human consciousness to travel through time to any point in the traveler's lifetime and relive moments of their life. An impossible breakthrough, but it's not perfect. The traveler has no way to alter or control the outcome. They can only observe. After Beth's husband, Coulson, the co-creator of the machine, dies in a tragic car accident, Beth is left to raise Isabella, their only daughter, and continue the work they started. Mired in grief and threatened by her unscrupulous funder, is that how you say that word? Beth pushes herself to the limit to prove the value of her technology. With each new observation she makes, her own timeline begins to warp. The changes are small at first, then they become horrifying. With her reality constantly shifting, Beth is on the clock to reverse altered history. But once the dominoes have been tipped, can they ever be reset? Horror, sci-fi, plays with time, like Philip Fracassi, so I'm really excited to read this one. Also from Philip Fracassi, this one I think is set to come out in January. It is Serafina. The synopsis says, during one of the most violent battles of the Civil War, 3 brothers fighting for the Confederate Army decide to go AWOL and make their way home, willing to risk execution rather than be killed in a losing war. After several exhausting weeks of rough terrain, the brothers find a miracle deep in the dark woods, a homestead. Living in this remote cabin is a beautiful woman, Serafina, and her young son, Titus. She takes the soldiers in, feeds them, offers them a place to rest. But the youngest brother is wary. Something seems off. As the days pass, he discovers a mysterious creek, a strange underground cavern, and a strong sense that the cabin and the surrounding fertile land are not what they seem. The brothers soon find themselves in a new battle, an escalation of horrors they must somehow fight to survive. So I'm not entirely sure what to expect from this one, but I am looking forward to it. The cover, I don't know if this is the official cover, but the cover art that we have right now has me very, very curious. I think there's definitely something going on with Serafina that is a little bit darker than we'll understand. So those are all the upcoming releases that I'm really, really looking forward to. I just wanted to give one little update because this book I mentioned when I did my upcoming releases video at the beginning of the year, One of You by Erin E. Adams. It was set to be published this past April, but then it got pushed back, so it's not going to be published until April of next year now. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an update, but I'm really, really excited for that one because Erin E. Adams was the author of another one of my favorite books from last year, so I can't wait to read this one. But that is all the books that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Let me know if any of these books are on your TBR. Let me know what you think of the covers, if any of them sound really, really interesting to you. What is your most anticipated read for the second half of the year? Let me know. Put some new books on my radar. I want to know. With all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time.